Welcome to ProActive Safety Heavy Machinery Certification for Backhoe Operators. Responsibility. The responsibility starts with you. This course was created and used for the purpose of employee safety training. Why train? It's necessary wherever you go. It is also a means by which operating costs, accidents, and injuries are reduced. It can save lives. Whether this is your first year on the job or you've been working for 20 plus years, there is always something you can learn. As you progress through this course, you may be tempted to skip or ignore certain sections. Please note that by doing so, you may not only prevent the course from earning the appropriate score required to take, but it also may prevent you from learning or remembering important safety principles. Do not skip questions. Take the time to answer them carefully. They will prepare you for the final exam. Let the course work while you are involved in the projects or conversations. Sharing screen or information with other person. In accordance with federal regulation, this course is designed to train you and test your individual knowledge. Helping another person or receiving help from another person could seriously jeopardize your future safety or that of your coworkers. Responsibility. The material presented in this course is for educational and training purposes only. All parties involved in the development, distribution, and maintenance of this course will be held harmless from any incident resulting from misuse of the content beyond the standard and purpose set forth herein. Before you begin, you should understand that it is your responsibility to comply with the laws and regulations presented in the following courses and its corresponding material. It will be the responsibility of each operator to read, understand, and comply with the requirements of the operator's manual for their specific equipment. Likewise, it is your responsibility to strictly follow any additional guidelines specific to your own workplace. Good luck and stay safe. Backhoes are versatile machines found on virtually every construction site. They are used for a variety of tasks such as digging trenches, demolition, and removing or transporting construction materials. There are a variety of tools that can be attached to backhoes, allowing them to perform a greater variety of tasks. However, while backhoes are extremely useful machines, they are also very dangerous. Consider the following stories. Chad worked as a backhoe operator for many years and was confident in his abilities. He and his team were preparing a building construction site on a slope and needed a backhoe to help travel the land. After working hard all morning, Chad decided to take a break. He parked the backhoe on the slope and under the loader. Since it was a quick break, he thought the chocks were not necessary and reasoned that the handbrake alone should be sufficient. However, as Chad drove away, the parking brake failed and the backhoe began to roll down the hill towards him. He tried to jump to safety, but the charger caught his legs and ran them over. Unfortunately, this is an isolated incident. Similar incidents occur every year. In fact, research shows that around 800 workers die each year in accidents involving heavy machinery. However, with proper safety training, these types of incidents can be prevented. In this training, we will go over the different functions and components of backhoes to help you perform your pre-shift inspections properly. We'll start with the components of inspections on the outside of the backhoe and then look at the parts and controllers to inspect the inside. We will also review the concept of machine stability and focus on terms such as the center of gravity, the stability pyramid. In that section, we will also discuss specific safety principles for maintaining stability, such as using outriggers or operating your backhoe on a slope. Below, we'll go over what you can do to optimize the safety at work. This will include concepts such as maintaining your physical and mental health, as well as wearing appropriate PPE. Next, we'll cover the safety principles to follow when operating your backhoe. This includes how to set up your machine correctly. In the last section, we'll go over workplace planning, common workplace hazards, and best practices for avoiding or minimizing them. Throughout this training, we will analyze profiles of real and investigated incidents or accidents. In some cases, 2 or 3 similar accidents have been combined in order to illustrate key safety principles. They will show how quickly things can go wrong when safety procedures are ignored, resulting in injuries or deaths. Why train? No matter the situation, it's important to comply with federal and state regulations. Where does it say we need to train? Can't a worker be considered qualified based on experience? The answer is no. Experience helps, yes, but the regulations are very clear that employees must receive training no matter how long they have been on the job. And that is an employer's responsibility to oversee that safety training is being done and ensure that employees have the understanding, knowledge, and skills necessary to operate safely. Initial training and refresher training, as well as any written and practical evaluations, must be documented and archived. As a minimum, employers must show proof of adequate and consistent training in the forms of training schemes, class list, training goals, tests, certificates, etc. These documents must include the name of the person who taught the class or conducted the evaluation. However, training is not a one-time event. It is continual. In fact, training should be provided whenever it is demonstrated to be necessary. Employees must receive training in the following instances. Number 1, there are changes in your assigned functions. 2, there are changes regarding possible risk of exposure for which the employee has not received any training. 3, any deficiencies have been observed in the work performance of an employee that is related to the safety and health of themselves or other workers. 4, an accident has occurred or an employee has been injured or there was a near miss during the operation. The scope of training will be determined by the employer, but at a minimum must include proof of continuing competency. A presentation followed by a written exam and practical exam that proves continued competence. Anatomy and inspection. In this section, we will look at the basic anatomy and concepts of the backhoe and describe each of them briefly. We'll also go over things to look for when performing a pre-shift inspection. The operator's manual should have a more detailed list. Pre-shift inspections are generally divided into 2 groups: inspections when machinery is on and inspections with the machinery off. However, we will address both checks at the same time. We review the exterior and interior inspections. Operator's manual. Keep in mind that getting familiar with the backhoe starts with the operator's manual. The operator's manual must be on the machinery at all times. Everyone who operates a backhoe should be familiar with it, especially the safe operation part. If your manual is illegible or missing completely, request a replacement immediately. While performing a pre-shift inspection, use a checklist specific to your backhoe as a guide. Your operator's manual will contain such a list, or your employer can provide you with one. Please follow the checklist. PPE, personal protective equipment. Before performing any inspection, put on appropriate personal protective equipment. You may need coveralls, gloves, steel-toe boots, and eye protection. Employers should inspect the workplace and select appropriate PPE for their employees. Ask your employer what PPE is required for pre-shift inspections. Maintenance mats. In accordance with appropriate PPE, take extra precautions to avoid an accident or injury during maintenance work. Consider using maintenance mats to prevent slipping. Also, avoid working alone. Best practice say you should have a second person with you for maintenance jobs that require an engine to be running. Definition. Maintenance mats are mats that help create an even surface or traction while working on your heavy equipment. Exterior labels. The exterior of your machine must have safety decals and label warnings of potential operating hazards. See the operator's manual for a list of required labels and their locations. Replace immediately if missing or if it's unable to be read. Motor. The engine is the heart of the backhoe, and just like your body, if you take care of it, it will live longer. For this reason, strictly follow the maintenance schedule dedicated by the manufacturer in the operator's manual. Perform additional inspections and send your backhoe for maintenance as necessary. Never wait until the next scheduled inspection to shift to investigate or fix a problem that needs immediate attention. Oil and other fluids. Check your charger fluids every day. This includes hydraulic and transmission fluids, as well as engine oil. While there will likely be an oil gauge inside the cabin, You will also want to check the condition of the oil. It should be relatively clear and not excessively dirty. Replace it as often as suggested in the maintenance manual or sooner if necessary. Take notes. Best practices say to first check the oil, antifreeze, and other fluids while the engine is off. Checking them with a hot engine can be extremely dangerous. If the backhoe is low on hydraulic fluid, transmission fluid, or any other type of fluid, add to it. Don't get into the habit of making do with the bare minimum. Do not add more than necessary and only the appropriate fluids. An easy way to determine if your backhoe is leaking fluids is to look for stains on the ground beneath the machinery. If you detect signs of an oil or hydraulic fluid leak, be sure to have it checked first by a licensed and trained mechanic before operating. Hydraulic elements. You should also examine the hydraulic systems and hoses. When doing so, wear gloves and eye protection. Even a pin-sized leak can inject high-pressure fluids through the skin and into the bloodstream. This can lead to possible infections or even death. Remember to always protect your hands. If you suspect a leak, avoid using your hands to check it. Instead, run a piece of cardboard along the hose. This is known as the cardboard test. If a leak is found, remove the machine from service until it is repaired. Chassis and bodywork. The chassis and frame support the body of the backhoe as a whole. If not properly maintained, the entire vehicle can fail. Perform inspections and maintenance as described in the manufacturer's manual. While you may or may not be a mechanic, anyone can inspect the chassis and frame for obvious signs of failure. Turn motion unit. While inspecting the chassis and the frame of your backhoe, be sure to inspect the swinging unit as well. This is the series of hoses, pins, and cylinders that allow the boom to swing from side to side. Check the swing until adequately lubricated and that its components are not damaged or leaking, especially the bushing and hinge pin. ROPS and FOPS. Carefully inspect the rollover protective structure, ROPS, and falling object protective structure, FOPS. Look for dents, bends, cracks, and other damage. If you find damage of these structures, replace the ROPS or the FOPS immediately. Do not, under any circumstance, modify the ROPS or FOPS by welding additional parts, drilling holes, cutting, grinding, or any other types of modification. This will negatively affect the integrity of the ROPS and FOPS and will require replacement. Stabilizers. Inspect the stabilizers on your backhoe to ensure that the swing unit is in good condition and not damaged. This includes the stabilizer pads. Check that these pads are flat and undamaged to help with stability when using your stabilizers. Remember to check the hinge pins, bushings, hoses, cylinders for wear, leaks, or other damages. Backhoe accessories. Test your backhoe arms, buckets, dipper arm, and any other attachment to make sure that they work properly and respond quickly. Remember to inspect and test your hydraulic components as well. In each case, they should move up, down, left, and to the right, as well as tilt, twist, and tilt effortlessly without snagging. Charger assembly. The loader assembly is a complex system of arms, hinges, pins, cylinders, hydraulic system, and bucket. Like everything else, it is necessary to visually inspect all these components for damage and test them to make sure they work properly. Loader bucket. When inspecting the loader assembly, pay special attention to the loader bucket. It may seem indestructible, but it is still capable of causing damage that can put you or your coworkers at risk. Check the bucket for wear, loose parts, or any sign of deformation that can hinder proper operation. Backhoes use hydraulic cylinders and hinges to extend the arm and tilt the bucket. Inspect these components to ensure they are properly lubricated and not damaged. Use the cardboard test to check for hydraulic fluids, leaks from cylinders and hoses. Pen and stick arm. Both the boom and the arm use hinge pins to connect each other and then to the swing unit. These components also use a hydraulic cylinder to raise and lower them. Did you know many backhoes have an additional section in the arm that extends beyond its initial reach? This section is called the hoe extension. Also uses a hydraulic cylinder to extend and retract. Due to the amount of friction this process causes on the components, inspect the lever carefully to make sure it has enough grease and is not worn. As always, test the hoe extension to ensure it extends and retracts smoothly. Excavator bucket. Excavator buckets are primarily used to excavate material on a job site. To accomplish this, carefully inspect the bucket for damages and ensure it's securely attached to the mast or masts. Pay special attention to the edge of the teeth. If they are damaged or worn, replace them. Tires and wheels. When inspecting tires, check for worn tread, improper inflation, leaks, cracks, excess mud, and lodged debris. Repair, inflate, or replace them as necessary. Be sure to remove debris as well. Also examine the wheels. Look for missing or loose lug nuts, bent rims, excessive rust, or poor alignment. Repair or replace them as necessary. Always check both sides of the wheels and tires. Hoses and wiring. Inspect all hoses and wiring on your backhoe before using the machine. Check to see if there's anything that looks suspicious or obviously needs repair. Lights. Check all lights on the machine, including brake lights, headlights, and reverse lights. Replace or repair lights that are damaged or not working properly. This is especially important if you work at night or in a dark warehouse. And of course, never disable a backup alarm or warning light. Fuel levels. Check fuel levels and fuel filters, especially if the machine has been idle for an extended period. You should be familiar with the type of gas your machine requires and how to refuel it safely. Never smoke or use flames when checking the fuel levels or refueling. Interior inspection. The graphic on the left lists some of the major interior components of a backhoe. The types, names, and locations of controls will vary around brand and type, but you should always use a checklist specifically for your machine to guide you through the pre-operation checks. This checklist is usually provided by the manufacturer or your employer. Again, you must strictly follow the maintenance schedule found on the machine itself. Operator's Manual. The operator's manual has guides for inspection and maintenance. It is usually located behind or near the seat and must be on the machine at all times. If you notice that the manual is illegible or missing, replace it immediately. Everyone who operates the machine must have access to the manual and be familiar with it. Too often, operators operate machines without knowing where the manual is or having never read it. This is especially true for attachments, as they also come with their own manuals. Keep these manuals with the operator's console at all times so you can read and understand them. Cabin floor. Inside the machine, the easiest place to start inspecting is the floor. It is common to see where water bottles, chains, or other tools or trash cluttering this area. Keep clutter to a minimum so that it does not interfere with braking or acceleration of the backhoe. Seat. Additionally, you should inspect your seat. It may seem unimportant, but it is a device designed to keep you safe. This is especially true when it comes to ergonomics and the health of your back and spinal muscle. As soon as you are seated, adjust your seat to suit you. If the seat is damaged in any way, take the time to fix it. Swivel seat. A unique feature of a backhoe is the fact that the seat rotates 180 degrees, allowing you to easily switch between controls. You should test the swivel functionality to ensure the seat rotates smoothly and then locks into place. Seatbelt. Also inspect the seatbelt and make sure it locks and unlocks properly. If there is excess rust that prevents the belt from locking and unlocking easily, if there are any tears in the fabric, fix the problem immediately by sending the machine for repair. Some older machines may not have a seatbelt, in which case you should consult the manufacturer. Many companies have seatbelt kits that need to be installed on older machines. Interior cabin decals. Manufacturers require certain warning labels and information decals to be placed inside the cab. These are not just for show or sole reference, but have everything to do with the safe operation. Keep them clean and replace them if they are missing, illegible, or even damaged. Controls. Once you have inspected the cabin and determined that it is in good condition, it is time to test the controls. With the emergency brake set and the transmission in neutral, start the engine. Next, review each function of the backhoe to make sure the controls do what they're supposed to do. Check each lever, button, toggle switch, or pedal to ensure that they work smoothly in all functions. They should work as intended without crashes or delay reactions. Pay attention to the gauges and markings, especially the fuel level, oil pressure, and voltage and pressure gauges. They should function correctly, and the readings should be within normal operating ranges. If they are broken or not working properly, turn off the backhoe and report the problem immediately. Steering and the steering wheel. Turn the steering wheel in both directions. It should move easily and smoothly. If you have difficulty turning the wheel, or if you hear unusual noises during this process, do not use the machine. Fix any malfunction immediately. Drivability. On a flat and safe area, test the machine's forward and reverse motion, as well as its turning and stopping capabilities. You must be able to control both direction of travel and the speed of which you travel. When with the transmission in neutral and the brakes applied, accelerate and decelerate the engine. The accelerator should run smoothly and return to idle quickly. Brakes. Operating a machine whose brake system has not been periodically inspected could result in serious injury or death. Always check the brake controls during the pre-shift inspection to see that they are working properly. The pedals in the cabin should operate smoothly and should not be damaged. Handbrake. The handbrake is essential to avoid voluntary movements. It is usually a yellow button located on the dashboard, but you should know where it is and how it works for your particular machine before beginning operations. Test the parking brake by setting it and then turning to move the machine forward and backward. The brake must hold. If not, have it checked by a qualified mechanic immediately. The horn. The horn is one of the most important safety devices. You have to alert people passing by of your presence. The horn is likely located in the steering wheel. In some cases, it may be located on the gear lever. Try it every day and use it during your shift. Mirrors and glass. You should always keep windows and mirrors clean and undamaged to maintain maximum visibility during operation. If there are cracks, dents, or damages, have it repaired immediately. Wiper washer. Test the windshield wipers to make sure they work properly. Replace them as necessary, especially when constantly working in adverse weather conditions. Even a slight delay caused by glare, excess dust, or dirt on your windshield could mean the difference between life and death. Hey, you've already done the hardest part, which was watch this video. Now, don't stay there. Take the next step. Answer a couple questions, pass the quiz, and the certification is yours. Don't just stop by watching. Take action today. Go down to the link below, get a discount, and get certified now.